Earth-58163, a world that was created out of pain and loss. The Scarlet, which had a mental breakdown and turned against her friends and Avengers teammate. Now, in this new Marvel Universe reality, mutants are now the dominant species, and humans were now the minority. Now on this world, Logan, also known as a Wolverine, wakes up in this new world with his memories returned to him. Deep beneath the surface, a man floats suspended in a tank of green fluid. Tubes choke his mouth and mask, feeding chemicals into his body. His eyes are barely open, unfocused, lifeless. Around him, bubbles rise like quiet screams trapped in the water. His hair drifts in long, heavy strands, as if the tank itself is trying to drag him deeper into the nightmare. Then everything erupts. The tank shatters from the inside as the Wolverine surges upward, no longer held captive, no longer restrained. He bursts through the glass chamber with a roar so raw it rattles the walls. His claws already out and ready to attack. Shards of glass fall around him. Water crashes down. His muscles spasm. His claws extend violently, dripping with the liquid that once imprisoned him. He stands in the wreckage, half feral, half reborn, while distant mechanical arms pull back in alarm. His eyes snap open as sweat runs down his face. His nightmare was over, but the real nightmare was about to begin. A woman leans over the bed, soft curves, red hair, and eyes that cut through the room like a quiet command. She watches him with a knowing expression, one that says she's seen him like this before. She bends closer, calm and controlled, greeting him like someone who expected to find him waking from another nightmare. Wolverine snaps forward with a guttural snarl, claws flashing out his hand in a metallic burst. Sweat drips down his face as confusion turns into anger. He's not fully awake, not fully aware, just reacting, as if the nightmare followed him into the real world. The mystery woman calls out a name, James. Wolverine responded with, "What is it?" Wolverine's eyes change from anger to surprise as he soon discovers who the woman is. Then the illusion breaks. The red-haired woman shifts, revealing blue skin beneath. It was Mystique, and Wolverine is hit with another wave of confusion. His claws tremble inches from her face. She speaks casually, as if nothing about this morning is strange, as if his panic is an overreaction he should be ashamed of. As Mystique gasped for air, she said, "You didn't 1T mine last night," as it was his redhead fetish. Wolverine steps back, chest heaving, still trying to understand what's real. The blue-skinned woman turns her back on him, irritated, while he stares at her with a mix of drowning frustration and rising dread. He can't trust his own memories, not after the dream, not after the tank. He rushes down a hallway, shoving open a metal door with frantic strength. His movements are clumsy, desperate. He's not running from danger. He's running from the feeling that he's losing his mind. He spots two uniformed figures see him stumbling out. It was Jessica Drew and Toad. They look concerned, asking if he's okay, addressing him with a name he barely recognizes. They call him Sir, but he doesn't respond. He just stares ahead, breathing hard, like someone waking up in a life that doesn't belong to him. A drop of sweat trails down his face as he pauses. He glances toward a narrow staircase leading upward, a staircase illuminated by sunlight. Something pulls him toward it, something deep animal, instinctual. He races up the steps, each one shaking under his weight. The bright sky burns through the open hatch above him. Wolverine emerges into the light. The wind hits his face, carrying a freedom he didn't expect. He grips the railing, looking out over the world with a stunned, haunted expression. For a moment, just a moment, he's not trapped in the nightmare or the memory. He's just a man trying to catch his breath. High above the world, an entire armada cuts through the clouds, an overwhelming display of power and control. Fighter jets swarm the sky in tight formations, their engines screaming as they weave past one another. Every aircraft carries the same crimson emblem, a symbol stamped onto wings and tails like a warning to anyone below. A drop of sweat trails down his face as he pauses. He glances toward a narrow staircase leading upward, a staircase illuminated by sunlight. Something pulls him toward it, something deep animal, instinctual. He races up the steps, each one shaking under his weight. The bright sky burns through the open hatch above him. Wolverine emerges into the light. The wind hits his face, carrying a freedom he didn't expect. He grips the railing, looking out over the world with a stunned, haunted expression. For a moment, just a moment, he's not trapped in the nightmare or the memory. He's just a man trying to catch his breath. High above the world, an entire armada cuts through the clouds, an overwhelming display of power and control. Fighter jets swarm the sky in tight formations, their engines screaming as they weave past one another. Every aircraft carries the same crimson emblem, a symbol stamped onto wings and tails like a warning to anyone below. Wolverine's eyes narrow in the darkness, sweat glistening across his brow. There's something primal in his stare, like an animal locked between fear and instinct. The force around him is silent, except for the tension tightening every muscle in his body. A wild animal stands before him, snarling, its teeth bared and foam dripping from its mouth. The creature digs into the dirt, ready to charge. Wolverine's hand rises slowly, claws sliding free, but they were made of bones. Both hunter and hunted judge each other in the flickering shadows of the woods. Suddenly the vision shifts. Figures in armored suits step into view, shields raised, weapons ready. They look like soldiers from another time, another battle, another nightmare. They rush forward as if responding to a threat they've faced before. The red and blue figure at the front leads with confidence, preparing to engage whatever danger waits ahead. Then the vision dissolves into green fluid, bubbles rising through the liquid darkness of a familiar tank. A voice in the background gives an order, asking for Wolverine's medical profile. It's clinical, detached, as if his entire life is reduced to data and observation. More cables float around him, reminding him of the prison he once shattered. In another flash, another memory or hallucination strikes. A massive green figure bursts through the chaos. The Hulk, roaring, furious, unstoppable. His teeth bare in rage as he charges forward, ready to tear through anything in his path. This isn't a flashback. It's a collision of survival instincts. Then a blinding eruption of fire tears across the sky. A woman floats in the heart of the explosion. Body arched back, hair caught in the flames, the world around her breaking into molten light. The silhouette of a man reaches helplessly toward the inferno, his hand trembling as the blast swallows her. Wolverine's eyes snap open in another memory, sweat pouring down his face. The fire still burns in his mind. The loss still carves into him like a fresh wound. His gaze is locked forward, unblinking, hunted, desperate, caught between past pain and present confusion. The scene shifts again, splintering into another fragment of his fractured memories. A woman dressed in traditional Japanese clothing. It was Mariko Yashida. She appeared before him. Her expression is calm, cold, almost regal. Her presence radiates judgment, as if she is delivering a sentence rather than having a conversation. Behind her, pieces of red paper drift through the air, adding to the surreal stillness of the moment. Another memory or another trauma forms in front of him. Professor X sat in his wheelchair, hands held together, posture rigid. He is positioned like an authority figure weighing a decision heavy enough to crush worlds. The darkness around him swallows the background, isolating him in a void of responsibility. He speaks, talking about the fate of Wanda Maximoff. The final vision erupts into chaos. A crimson-lit battlefield stretches toward a burning horizon. Armored soldiers descend through rocket thrusters, storming toward a small group of figures. A woman tries to pull another figure away, desperate to evacuate, as the sky above them glows with explosions. The world is on the verge of collapsing into an all-out war, and Wolverine's mind fractures under collision of these memories. Wolverine leans forward on the railing of the carrier, his eyes sharp and alive in a way they weren't moments before. Something inside him has shifted. Something big. His stare is focused, almost burning, as if a truth he wasn't supposed to remember has just torn its way back into his mind. "Let's grab Xavier and get out of here," he whispered to himself. Mystique approaches cautiously, watching him like someone who suddenly realizes the person beside them is no longer who they were a minute ago. But Wolverine doesn't look at her. He's lost in the storm of his own thoughts, piecing together something impossible. Wolverine tells Mystique that he remembers his whole life, but she stood there confused to what he was saying. She asked him what was he talking about. Without warning, Wolverine leaps from the edge of the carrier. His body arcs through the sky, diving toward the city below. The wind tears at his clothes and hair as he descends, not hesitating, not second-guessing. Whatever truth he's chasing, he's willing to jump into the unknown to reach it. As he was falling at great speed, Wolverine crashed into the side of one of the buildings. Bloodied and shaken, Wolverine grabs onto the ledge. He pulls himself up and looks out on the busy streets of New York. He was surprised to see the billboards with faces of mutants being treated like celebrities. Once Logan had recovered from his injuries, he made his way to the streets, now disguised. As he stood near a newspaper stand trying to figure out what was going on, he spotted a young man on a red motorbike. Distracted with a phone call, Wolverine watches him carefully from a distance, his eyes narrowing with calculation. He's exhausted, injured, but driven. He needs to move and fast. Wolverine approaches the rider without hesitation. The courier eyes him with irritation as Wolverine gives him a cold, silent look, one that makes it clear this isn't negotiation. The courier squints back, clearly annoyed, right before Wolverine's fist flashes forward. A single punch sends the courier collapsing instantly, slumping off the bike in a heap as bystanders react in shock. Wolverine doesn't wait. There's no time for apologies or explanations. The mission, the truth, is all that matters. He swings a leg over the motorcycle, gripping the handlebars. Engines roar beneath him as smoke bursts from the tires. Wolverine leans forward, turning the machine into raw speed and momentum. The back tire screeches violently, leaving a black streak on the pavement as he tears out into traffic. Papers scatter in his wake, cars swerve, and pedestrians jump out of the way. Wolverine disappears down the street in a blur of red and thunder, chasing answers no one else even realizes are missing. Night settles over a large estate, silent, still, and bathed in cold blue moonlight. The mansion's windows glow faintly, like watchful eyes in the dark. The stars drift across the sky, untouched and quiet. It's peaceful, but the kind of peace that feels artificial. Wolverine lurks in the dense bushes just beyond the property line. Shadows swallow most of him, leaving only the glint of his eyes visible between the leaves. His gaze is tense, focused. He's not here to attack. He's here to confirm something. Something he's afraid to believe. Another closer shot of his eyes, sharper now, searching the ground. Logan sniffed the air, trying to pick up the scent of the X-Men and the students, but he gets nothing. He enters the mansion with no problem, walking quietly down the dark corridors. In one of the many rooms, Logan spots a man and woman asleep in one of the beds. Determined to get answers, Logan grabs a man by the mouth, waking him up. The man's eyes snap open, confused and panicked. He gasps, rolling slightly. Try to understand if the shadow over him is real or just part of the nightmare he was having. Wolverine stands at the foot of the bed, framed by the window, moon at his back. His face is carved in shadow, expression unreadable, but his voice, quiet, relentless, demands the only answer that matters now. He wants to know where Charles Xavier is. Confused, the man said who, but Wolverine snaps back, telling the man not to give him any lip and to tell him where Xavier was. The man pleads with Wolverine, believing that he might have the wrong house. Wolverine questioned him again about how long has he lived in the house. Feeling more nervous, the man stutters his response. He tells Logan that he has lived in the house for 15 years and then begs him to leave his family alone. Logan slowly stands, feeling more lost and alone. No Professor X or the X-Men to help him. He leaves the Madison and rides off into the night. A lonely roadside bar glows under a flickering neon sign, Roadhouse. It sits isolated on a stretch of empty highway, surrounded by silence and dim lights from parked cars. Wolverine approaches a payphone outside, battered, dirty, and running solely on instinct now. Inside the booth, Wolverine grips the receiver tightly. His expression is tense, frustrated, as he asks the operator for information. He gives a name he's desperate to find, but his face hardens when the operator asks for something he can't give, a city. He presses the receiver to his ear, trying New York next, but again, nothing. No listing, no record. The world keeps denying him the name his mind insists is real. Wolverine's jaw tightens as he hears something behind him. A group of local toughs pushes a frightened woman toward the dirt. One of them waves fire casually, threatening her while the others laugh. It's cruel entertainment for them, violence used like a party trick. Wolverine steps out of the booth, eyes tracking the scene. The phone dangles from the cord. Forgotten, the men keep taunting the woman, encouraging one another to put on a show. She begs him to stop, terror in her voice. The flames flash brighter as they move closer to her, and Wolverine's patience snaps. His face shifts into something cold and predatory. His arm tenses. His claws ignite into the night, gleaming under the moonlight as he strides forward. His shirt is torn and bloodstained, but there's nothing weak in his posture. The hunters are about to realize they're not the predators here. Wolverine rides into New York City, weaving through a crowd of people, mutants, humans, and beings of every shape and color. The streets are flooded with commuters, each absorbed in their own world. Wolverine pushes through them with purpose, ignoring the startled looks and whispers behind him. He's filthy, injured, and exhausted, but unstoppable. High above the skyline, streaks of glowing energy arc between towers. Flyers and armor patrol units swoop through the sky with eerie precision. The city feels alive, wired, monitored, reinforced. Wolverine rides beneath it all on his motorcycle, a lone figure against a sprawling, mutated metropolis. He rides towards a tower that he remembers. Stark Tower's the home of the new Avengers. Inside a towering corporate building, businessmen argue loudly as they exit a crowded auditorium. Their frustration echoes to the hallways. They complain about tickets, access, hierarchy, and privilege. Their conversation barely registers to Wolverine as he slips inside. Moving against the flow of the crowd, he pushes deeper into the building, climbing stairs that lead toward an elevated entrance. The space is sleek, modern, polished. This is a place meant for the elite. A stark contrast to Wolverine's state as he stalks through it, eyes darting, looking for answers. At a reception desk, a green-skinned attendant greets him politely. Wolverine asks for information, direct, blunt. But the woman explains that the person he's looking for, the one whose name he demands, doesn't live in this city. They only own the building. The answer stops him cold. This world keeps reshuffling the truth, rewriting people, reputations, identities. Before Wolverine can push further, a familiar figure steps into view. Sharp-eyed, confident, and clearly sent to intercept him. Agent Jessica Drew tells him the bosses want him back, and it doesn't matter how he comes in, willing or not. Jessica's presence is unmistakable. She's not here to negotiate. She's here to bring him home by force if necessary. Wolverine turns around to see his team, with member Jessica Drew, Rogue, Toad, Nightcrawler, and his lover Mystique. Even with guns aimed at him, the team tells him that they were worried about him and want to help. Mystique even tells Logan to do what Jessica Drew tells him to do. Wolverine lifts his head, meeting the leader's eyes. He asks how they found him so fast. She answers matter-of-factly, explaining that he has a tracker embedded in him. Something inside Wolverine shifts: anger, confusion, resentment. They've been monitoring him, controlling him, shaping a life he doesn't remember choosing. His expression hardens, close on Wolverine's eyes. The realization cuts deeper than any wound. They think he's injured, disoriented, maybe even delusional. One of them jokes about him popping a stitch. But Wolverine knows the truth. This world isn't real, and he's done pretending it is. Wolverine elbows Jessica Drew in the face, knocking her out. Using this distraction, Wolverine runs. While trying to dodge the bullets his team were firing at him, the rest of the squad erupts into chaos. Shouts ring out as they realize he's bolting. Some fire stun rounds. Others fire bursts of glowing energy. Nightcrawler teleports in a puff of pink smoke, while Rogue and the others scramble for position. Wolverine barrels forward, plowing through concrete pillars as bullets ricochet and chunks of wall explode around him. Nightcrawler teleports directly into Wolverine's path, feet kicking out from a swirl of purple smoke. Wolverine dodges, claws flashing but not striking. He doesn't want to kill them, but he will break through them. Shell casings bounce across the floor as another barrage of shots lights up the hallway. The chase intensifies. Wolverine swerves past a blast, debris and dust exploding around him. One of the agents shouts after him, trying to appeal to his sense of loyalty, telling him he's ruining something. But Wolverine doesn't look back. He tears forward, determined to escape. Nightcrawler appears again, this time at the worst possible moment. Wolverine and the teleporting mutant collide mid-run in a mess of limbs, smoke, and thrown bullets. The force of the impact slams Nightcrawler onto the floor with a heavy. Wolverine crashes through a storefront window with explosive force, aiming for the streets where he left his motorcycle. Once Wolverine gets on the bike, he races through the heavy traffic away from his former teammates. While close behind him, Nightcrawler continues to teleport, leaving small clouds of pink smoke. Nightcrawler was able to catch up to Wolverine, but he was stopped in his tracks after he collapsed to the ground with arrows stuck inside him. With no one following him, Wolverine speeds up the bike, leaping over cars. But then out of nowhere, Wolverine spots someone in the middle of the road. He remembers a stranger as Cloak, who then opens his robes and swallows Wolverine whole into his dark, empty void. Wolverine crashed into a strange room. He quickly recovers, standing up quickly with his claws ready to strike. He growls, showing that there is still anger and rage in his eyes. But in front of him, he recognizes the people that stands before him. He sees his fellow Avengers teammate Luke Cage, and with him Danny Rand the Iron Fist Misty Knight, Felicia Hardy the Black Cat, and others. Luke Cage tells Wolverine to calm down. Wolverine calls out Cage's name, Luke looking puzzled. He asks Wolverine if he knows him. Logan asks Cage what's going on, but Luke tells him to take out his tracker, and then they will talk. Then another voice is heard warning Wolverine to do what he is told. The voice came from a hero that had fallen some time ago, Clint Barton, the Hawkeye, standing strong, alive and well. He aims his bow at Wolverine with an arrow pointing straight at him. With Tennyson's rising, Wolverine tries to get everyone to calm down, but Hawkeye loses patience and fires his arrow at Wolverine, piercing his neck and ripping out the tracker. Logan falls to the ground and passes out. The blood from his neck spreads across the ground. Moments later, Wolverine starts to wake up. Still weak from the blood loss, he starts to black out again, but not before hearing Luke and Hawkeye shouting at each other. He slowly rises to his feet. He struggles to speak at first, but then his words followed. How long was he out? But before anyone could speak, the walls of Luke Cage's hideout were destroyed by two House of M Sentinels. The two giant robots attack anything that moves. Death soon followed for some of Cage's allies. Wolverine runs to the aid of a small child. The Sentinel starts to lock on to more targets. Cloak was able to teleport as many survivors as he could to another location. As the survivors are thrown out of his void to dust, and debris was also teleported as well. Wolverine and the rest of the heroes started to gather themselves. He checks on the girl, asking her if she was okay. Cloak revealed that he was able to teleport to one of Wilson Fisk's office, as he knew it was the only place that would be empty. Wolverine tried to explain once again to Luke that the world he comes from, they were teammates, a part of the Avengers, which led Luke mentioning about the little that was with them. He tells Logan that she was telling him the same thing about Avengers, X-Men, and that even Hawkeye was dead. Logan sat in front of her and asked her name. Feeling nervous, she tells him that her name was Layla. Layla tells Logan that she woke up one morning and saw that the world was wrong, and nobody even knew about it. Wolverine holds her hand, asks her if she could read his mind, but she told him that she can't. So he asked her what does she remember. She tries to remember, but all she said was that she woke up and that everything was different. At one point she thought she was going crazy, but Logan told her that she was not going crazy. He then turns to the others to ask for a phone book. Then moments later, Cloak had teleported the group to another location, but this time it was the home of Scott Summers and his wife Emma Frost. Wolverine tells Layla to try to help convince Emma about the truth, like she did with Luke Cage. Then Logan picked up a scent that he recognized before. Just then Emma Frost walked into the apartment and was shocked to see so many people in her apartment. Emma used her powers to freeze the group. She threatens to call the police to come and arrest them, but then she catches a thought from Wolverine. She questions him about how he knows her, but he replies to her that she was in his head, so she can take a look. Then Emma turned to Layla. She can sense something off about her. Emma starts to probe Layla's thoughts, but she triggers Layla's powers. In seconds, Emma's memories become unlocked. She remembers everything about her life from Earth-58163, her childhood, her time with the Hellfire Club, joining the X-Men, and her relationship with Scott Summers. With Emma's memories intact, she looks at Wolverine in anger. She tells him that they have to finally kill Magneto and his kids. Logan agreed with her, but he mentions that they will need a lot more people to fight against the rest of the House of M. Just then, Scott Summers arrived home. Before he could get an answer from Emma about who the people were, Emma leans over Layla and tells her to use her powers on Scott. Her eyes makes contact with Scott's. His eye light up as his memories begin to come back to him. After recovering his memories, Scott stumbles for a moment, the look of confusion, and panic glares over his face. He questions how could Magneto have done this to the whole world. Logan informs Cyclops about everything he discovered so far about this world. The X-Men don't exist, the Avengers were never formed, and Professor X was nowhere to be found. Becoming the natural-born leader that he was meant to be, Cyclops asks Wolverine which heroes can they find, which leads a team to find. Wolverine and his team track down Peter Parker. Then Layla stares at Peter with her powers, and his mind was overwhelmed with his memories of his life as Spider-Man. Peter falls onto a car, screaming in pain as the world that he was living in came crashing down. Wolverine tried to check up on him, but Peter swipes his hand away. Then Peter looks up to see the two people that were dearest to him stand in front of him, Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. Overwhelmed, Peter runs and climbs up a building. Wolverine tells Cyclops that he will talk to him. Wolverine finds Peter on the ground, crying in anger. Peter begs Logan to tell him that this might be some kind of trick, or even Mysterio creating some hallucination. But Logan tells Peter that this was the work of the Scarlet Witch and Magneto. Still heartbroken by this new reality, Peter mentions that his Uncle Ben is alive, Gwen was alive, and he has a son. But Logan tries to get Peter to focus as they have a job to do. Peter looks at Logan with great anger. He tells him that he is going to kill Magneto and Wanda, but Logan tells him that he won't get the chance, as he will get the job done. With no time to waste, our heroes search for any heroes they could find in New York. They track down Shadowcat, Doctor Strange, Ms. Marvel, Iron Man, She-Hulk, and Daredevil. Then Emma told Layla to power down. Once they discovered that Captain America was in no fighting shape to help them, as in this reality, he was never frozen after the war. Feeling disappointed, Wolverine stated that it was a shame as they really could have used his help. With the heroes gathered, they started to form a plan to attack Magneto. But then Wolverine's strike team appeared, threatening to not only take in Wolverine, but arrest everyone present. Wolverine and the Marvel heroes attacked first, but Cyclops orders not to hurt them. The fighting stops for a moment as Rogue captured Layla and threatens to hurt her, but one of Rogue's finger touches Layla's skin, and she absorbed a small amount of Layla's powers, causing her to use on the others. Now that everyone was back to normal, Wolverine checks on Mystique. She slaps him when she remembered that in this reality, they were in a relationship. Ms. Marvel asks what is the plan. Wolverine tells him that their plan is to take the fight to Magneto. The team board one of the helicarriers. With the help of Emma's powers, she was able to cloak them from the rest of the crew. As night falls in the palace of Magneto, a huge gathering of the royal leaders attend Magneto's party. Unaware their evening will take a different turn of events. A sentinel flies straight toward the palace in an effort to destroy a part of it, but Magneto uses powers to stop it dead in its tracks. As he begins to tear it apart, Wolverine leads a charge against Magneto. The battle becomes intense, each side not backing down. Fists and kicks explode on the battlefield. Wolverine and the others become overwhelmed by the numbers of Magneto's army, but they don't stop fighting. They know if they lose today, they can never return home. Then the group spots a man they have been so eager to get their hands on. But something was off about him. He wasn't interested in the invaders, he was after his son Quicksilver. Magneto discovered that it was Quicksilver that caused the Scarlet Witch to create this world. Angry from what he heard, he used his powers to attack Quicksilver with metal fragments. One of them hits Quicksilver, so hard that it kills him on the spot. A shocked Wanda watches her brother fall to the ground lifeless. She screams out his name. She ran to his side and then used her powers to bring him back to life. Then Wanda said the words that would change the lives of every mutant in the Marvel Comics universe. She utters the words, "No more mutants." And then a bright light surrounds her, and it turned into what seems like a huge explosion. Then the scene shifts back to the X-Men mansion. The students were in a panic as they noticed that most of them had lost their powers. Cyclops and Emma try to assess the damage. Then Cyclops realized that if most of the students had lost their powers, so could the teachers. They noticed that Logan wasn't around. They had a terrible thought that if he lost his powers, his adamantium skeleton could kill him. Cyclops orders Nightcrawler to search the grounds. Nightcrawler teleports everywhere, and he finally found Wolverine passed out on the grass. Wolverine wakes up with a gasp, stating that he remembers everything. And that was the Wolverine's involvement in the House of M storyline from Earth-58163, a world that was created to protect the Scarlet Witch from being dealt with at the hands of the X-Men or the Avengers. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Feel free to leave a message in the comments about which Marvel or DC comic character you would like to see next, right here on Pages of the Multiverse.